and they're getting paid. When uhleli uyabukela, girl, get up and get your money. Eva? While my expenses are here and they seem like they cannot change, my income level can continue to change and increase. So far, the most that I've made is 200K from a campaign. Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about multiple streams of income. Not just my multiple streams of income. Initially, that's what I was going to do, but then I was like, how is that helpful? You can't rely on just one income stream, unless if you can, tell us where, because girl, we're going to need those tips, okay? And without any further ado, let's get straight into this video. You know what to do. Give this video a massive thumbs up if you do enjoy it. Comment down below and let us know your multiple streams of income so that we can all share. Yeah, bro? Knowledge is power. Otherwise, do subscribe if you haven't already. It is absolutely free. Let's get it. Hey there. It's Yolz channel. Just to give this video some structure, I have categorized my income streams in 3 different segments. We're going to dive into each segment and actually expand on each of the different things that I've done so that there is money at the end of the month. Also, I do want to react to this video before we even get into it, because you know what? I'm not going to lie to you. When I was in corporate, I did not mind having a salary until I tasted what it was to have multiple streams of income. But the reality of moving from paycheck to paycheck to invoice, it is a sports, an extreme one to be exact. Let's have a look at this video real quick.
You know when people talk about living paycheck to paycheck and how living paycheck to paycheck is unsustainable and, you know, like it's not a good way to live and blah, blah, blah. Have you tried living invoice to invoice? Have you ever lived invoice to invoice? You don't know when or if you're gonna get paid. You don't know if you're gonna get paid in a month, 2 months, 3 months, a year, ever.
Cool. Let's get straight into it. Alrighty, so the first segment that I've newly carved out, actually, it's existed for a while, but I reintroduced it this year, which you may know about, which is under the segment of consulting. I am now officially an international property consultant, my current highest paying income stream. Now, this kind of came incidentally. I do have a commercial property background, and I basically redusted that degree a little bit, went to Dubai and actually saw an opportunity to introduce South Africans on how they can actually purchase property abroad. Somehow in between introducing developers, real estate agents, this one, everyone's just like, oh, okay, cool, siyabonga. And when they say siyabonga, I'm like, it's the kind of siyabonga when you convert back to rands. It is making sense. So then I officiated that, created some SLAs, and now we are fully in business. And this is a great reminder for anyone who's left corporate, similar to me, that you can still repackage what you are able to do in terms of skill set, in terms of capabilities and abilities and experience that you've learned from your corporate job. Literally package it to what would work for your current lifestyle and put a price to it. For me, I never thought that I could still do and work in corporate, as in corporatization of my actual company. However, I have found a new avenue, and you know what? It actually works. This is not just limited to anyone who's left corporate. In fact, when it comes to consulting, there are many ways for you to still monetize your current skill set while you are still in corporate. I've made a list to be exact, okay? Mandivule list. If you come from a background like I do, banking or even property, commercial property, girl, have you thought about property management as a freelancer? I know somebody who is doing this in their free time and they are managing multiple properties as a freelancer. If they spend their days content creating and some of their days they go and check on the properties, they are obviously redrafting leases, lease renewals, they're showing tenants properties, you know, and also they're managing the actual properties for smaller property companies. And some clients are from historic corporate work that they used to do. That is an avenue that we don't always think is available, but if you've worked with leases, you've worked in commercial property, you have the skill set, okay? And obviously from a property management perspective, you're getting a fee for managing that building that can turn into 1 flat to a whole building to 3, 4, 5 buildings, and who knows, maybe a whole development that you can manage yourself. The other thing you can do if you're coming from a banking background, a credit background like myself as well. I come from property finance, where we would lend and assess loan applications. I don't need any more income streams now, but if I needed to, I would actually assist small businesses with their loan applications. Because we know exactly what the bank is looking for, you are the right candidate to actually assist somebody in loan applications. I actually have a friend who's gotten a few grants. Now, she is not in the business of helping other businesses, but I think that's also an avenue for her to help other people who are looking for grant applications. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Why are you looking at me?
She's in the room. She is a small business grant queen. And I think that's also another avenue for her, coming both from the banking background and somebody who's received a few grants. She understands what the grant or funder is looking for. And that is somebody who can then assist you and charge at a fee, whether or not you're successful on your application. But she's going to make sure that at least it gets to the right stage, at least a stage where the person who's looking at your application is actually going to say, okay, they've met the criteria. Are they the people we want to fund? And I think that is a great need, especially here in South Africa, where people actually fail, not because they didn't apply, but because the application is not meeting the minimum criteria. So that's a gap that exists. If you are somebody who loves teaching and has a patience for a people, tutoring is something that is constantly needed, whether from varsity students or even high school students, particularly in courses such as investment, finance, accounting. So if you did study B-commerce in something and you know, Wuti, you got your A there, you got your distinction, maybe consider using that skill set, using that ability to actually charge and create a little side business in doing that. The same with leasing. You can be an administrator, a virtual assistant. The same in property and in finance. You could look at ways of saying, how can I assist somebody else outside of my day job? That way it becomes an additional income. And then in terms of corporate consulting as a whole, I actually, bridging into content creation, I used to actually consult corporate companies around hair ingredients that they could include in their products. And that also became a consulting leg. Now, one, I was not a professional consultant at the time. But somehow this corporation thought it would be great because I know about hair to look for answers from me in terms of the type of ingredients. So I sat down with the R&D team, the research and development team, and we spoke about ingredients that work particularly for natural hair. And when it comes to consulting, like the hair thing, being a subject matter expert is what gets you the job. You don't have to have studied hair. I didn't study hair, but here I was consulting a corporate company in the hair space. You can actually monetize that skill set and consult someone else because you bring value in the knowledge that you have in that particular subject. And this actually brings me back to the content creation where it all started. I did not think that this ball could keep on snowballing into something that was bigger than I thought. Initially, I thought content creation was simply picking up your camera, sitting in front of it, and speaking. It does not end there, Sana. In fact, when it comes to content creation, the most common way to make money if you are a YouTuber is through AdSense. Right now, the criteria is that you must have 1,000 subscribers and have reached 4,000 watch time hours, right? Now, unfortunately, or fortunately for me, I came at a time where there was no criteria. I'm not very sure how I became a partner. I got an email. I still had, I think, 750 subscribers when I first got my first check back in 2017, and I became YouTube partner. The minute I got over the threshold of $100, I got my first check. That is as far as I remember, but now the criteria is a little bit more stringent, but it is easier right now to reach 1,000 so that you can actually qualify for AdSense. Now, why am I telling you this? A lot of people create a lot of short form content. Shorts have now allowed a lot of people to be able to actually earn. You're not earning as much in terms of CPM and RPM. I'll put the definitions right here. However, if you are punting out content for free, whether it's on Facebook, TikTok, or Instagram, you can just literally repurpose the same content and put it on YouTube because it is the only platform so far in South Africa that literally pays you for your video views. And in terms of the CPM, yes, it's lower, but quantity over quality, to be fair, here on YouTube. So if you're already creating content, whether you are a real content creator or not, this is just an easy way of making extra income. It builds up over time. It starts small, but it does build up. The other way that I make proper moolah on YouTube, as well as on all other social media, is through brand deals. Now, brand deals, bread and butter. and it's the type of butter that is salted. The real butter, not Rama or Ronda, Kimajari. No. It's the real type. I mean, so far, the most that I've made is 200K from a campaign. However, there are people who are making 1.5 million, 2 million in brand deals, and it is uncapped in terms of the earning potential here. Now, you can earn on all different platforms, not just YouTube. The most common way to earn on YouTube is through ad placement. So you would feature a brand and talk about the brand. However, the money maker is through short form content. So content on Instagram and TikTok mainly, that is where you can make money. I've spoken about brand deals before, and if you want to know more about it, I do have other videos and I'll link them up here on a card. Simply click on that and you will be taken to videos that explain how sponsored work works. The next thing is affiliate links. Now, very common around the influencer world, and many people think it's limited to influencers. This is income you can make as an ordinary person, okay? It is really good money, especially if you're somebody who shares, whether on Facebook, whether on TikTok, whether on Instagram. If you share something, now you probably heard of things like Amazon storefronts, or you've seen people share fashion content. Now, the way that affiliate links traditionally work is that if a link is shareable, you can say, I've used your product, I love your product, and I have a small audience. You don't have to have hundreds of thousands. You could literally love a pram that you've used, and it's 60 posts on your Instagram. That pram is there. People have asked, where do you get this pram? You can go to that brand and say, hey, can I get a portion, like 10% of any sales that are from people that I've shared this link to? And let me let you know, it is most likely that the brand will say yes, because you'll be sharing about that brand or that pram, and they'll be getting obviously 90% of the income, but you can get 10%. Now, traditionally, you would need to negotiate this rate. I have affiliate links, and they date back to Her Given Hair days, where you would ask about my hair. And again, I was not a big YouTuber at the time. I was simply sharing the hair that I'm wearing, which is from Her Given Hair, whether it's clip-ins, whether it's a ponytail. And when people use my link, I get a percentage of that. Other people have actually added their affiliate links to their link tree, which is linked to their profile. Again, doesn't matter which social media platform, you can actually use this. But I want to share this with you because it is not limited to influencers. You as an ordinary person who has a WhatsApp. In fact, I've seen links on WhatsApp, people's statuses. You can share with people the things that you love. Oh my gosh, my cushions are from at home. And if you want to purchase them, here's a link directly to this cushion. Boom. Somebody buys it, you get a portion of that sale. This is also perfect for small businesses. If you've identified the few small businesses that you support within your area or your city, you getting a sale from the conversion. While they may not be able to afford a whole marketing budget, for every sale that they're getting from you, you're just getting a small portion of that sales conversion. Make sense? And the reason why I'm even sharing small businesses is because sometimes we're thinking affiliate links need to be from big businesses. They value referral business. And so would you, because your friend trusts you. In fact, if you refer something versus me as an influencer, your friend is more likely to trust your referral, not mine. Let's be fair. And if you've got a referral link, even better, because you get to benefit from simply sharing something that is real, that is true, and that you absolutely love within your space. And that small business gets to benefit in getting that sale. And then when I extra. The other way that I've made money as a content creator, I have actually been a social media strategist for an immigration company. I know. Canadian immigration, how is the relation? All I did was simply come up with a content creation strategy and manage their social media. Boom. Utsini, every month, 25,000 just to do that. Again, you look at different ways, and at the time, I'm not going to lie to you, I needed the money. Content creation was dry, and I was like, okay, what can I do with what I'm able to do? I can post on Facebook, I can post on Instagram. And you as a content creator, because we live invoice to invoice, and because our money is not always guaranteed, some seasons are drier than others. Peak season is great, but not every season is peak season, right? You can actually offer this service to, again, small businesses or businesses you found on Instagram that simply lack a strategy, a cohesive posting strategy, and say, hey, via DM, I've been asked even by companies via DM, hey, do you actually manage social media platforms? And at the time, I wasn't offering it as a public service, but I saw a need with this immigration company, and I offered it, and they were willing to pay me the fee that I asked for. Just remember that whatever you you can do for yourself, you can certainly do for others. The only difference is that this time you're going to be on a schedule. It's not like I woke up like this today, tomorrow I don't. No. We want to keep it professional. Yeah, well. Outside of just being in front of the camera, you can be behind it. UGC creators, hands are in shot, product is in shot, not your face. You're producing for another brand. Sometimes they ask for face, but most of the time you are producing content for other brands. You can also be a social media manager, managing other people's social media for them or other companies. I've seen people move from literally directing their own work, as in me directing my own situation, to actually being creative directors on set for other content creators or even brands. So your big brands like your Unilevers, your Doves, they create ads outside of just digital ads for social media, their own social media, and for other creators, they would create TV ads. And believe it or not, if you are a content creator, you're already skilled in creating ads, right? So why not consider doing something like that outside of just creating for your Instagram or your TikTok? You can also host masterclasses, workshops. I'm seeing luncheons being hosted. Hey, guys, kuningi okwenzakalayo as a content creator. In fact, I've also hosted a hair masterclass sometime. If I have the pictures, I'll post them here. I've hosted workshops teaching other people how to actually monetize on YouTube and also how to approach brands, how to write proposals. I've even done one-on-one YouTube consulting for people who want to grow on YouTube and build a bankable brand on social media. That was an income stream I started back in 2021, which was very lucrative, and it was behind the scenes, which I love because it's low effort and also it is things I already know. Next on the list is public speaking. I feel so old saying this, but I started this back in 2010, which would make this my 15th year of actually speaking in public and monetizing that skill set. Back in varsity, I would take part in competitions like Woma, Hectic 99, Jiggy. I got approached by the very university where I was auditioning to actually MC, become a program director and host. In fact, I hosted Mr. and Miss UWC. I stood in the place of Kanye Bao. They were scrambling for somebody. And then somebody was like, yo. I was hosting with Cypho, by the way. Anyway, not the point. That was one of the biggest gigs that I hosted. And again, these were paid gigs and I was being paid by a whole institution, which obviously I had to pay them back through school fees. I had to go back and pay my fees. But it was a great way for me to monetize. You don't have to be out of university or even out of school to start making money. Start where you are. In fact, when it comes to speaking gigs, you can start low, from that 800 to 1.2, and you'll start seeing, okay, how we actually charge. In fact, it also exposes you to other people in this very business, and then you learn your way around how to set up proper rates for whatever skill set that you have. So on that point, just because something comes easy to you and because it comes natural to you doesn't mean that it needs to be undervalued, okay? I could speak from and as soon as I realized that I actually really love this, and then I learned very quickly I could be paid for this, I started asking the right questions. Okay, I can get paid for it. How much can I make from this skill? And then I learned I was undercharging, because even when you get the fee, you're like, mine, anyege, this thing is easy. I feel alive on stage. But then your peers getting 3 times more than you. Very quickly, you're like, let me also triple the price. And people pay for the things that come naturally to you because it doesn't come natural to everyone else. So that was one of the ways that I started making money very early in the game. In fact, the second time I got a job, a full-time job in varsity in my second year, I then started hosting more within the space while I was part of the liaison office, which basically had to work for CPS, Campus Protection Services, unrelated to Yolz. But we would host first years every year during orientation week, and we'd have presentations. Guess who was leading the conversations? I was there holding the mic, welcoming first years to UWC. And I also seen you guys who said, hey, weren't you the girl? I was the girl. But again, I was utilizing my skill set, and most people saw me and then said, hey, don't you want to actually host the awards? Don't you want to do this? Don't you want? And I was like, oh, wow. Simply by doing one thing, people identify your skill set and they are willing to pay for it. Don't downplay what you can do, girl. This also led to radio gigs for me. I also did panel discussions, moderating panels, speaking as a panelist, and also facilitating panel discussions, which again is great money. especially if it comes natural to you. The other ways that I made money through public speaking, which you already know, is on here, on TV as well. I've done multiple interviews. I've also charged for some where they were saying, okay, there's a monetary compensation. There's actually an ad that I did for Valentine's Day. I think we shot it actually. There's an ad that we did for Valentine's Day simply because I can speak, and the TV show said, hey, we want to thank you. Okay, 10K. And I was doing it just out of, for free. But again, your skill set can make money. If you are a corporate girly and there are events that are happening constantly, whether it's annual events, annual awards, there's a speaker. There's somebody who's hosting these things and they're getting paid. When you girl, get up and get your money. Eva? One of the most feared things, close to death. They say people fear death, but some people fear public speaking more than death. If you can speak and you find yourself in a corporate job that does things like events and they hire people to host those kind of things, put yourself forward, even before they ask, please, because you're not doing work for free. Go and put your rate forward to the marketing team and say, hey, did you know that I actually love MC or program directing? Here's my rates. For the next award ceremony, let me be the host. Let me announce my name for the award myself. But don't sleep on your skill set. Just because you're in corporate doesn't mean that you can't actually monetize the things you're passionate in. And yes, skill doesn't have to be studied all the time. Some people, it just comes naturally. You are just leaving money on the table when you decide to watch somebody else do what you can do in their free time and make money while they're doing so. Let's not do that. Not this year, at least. This year, we are not leaving anything on the table. I have seen people host webinars teaching other people how to speak. I was like, Yeah, people pay to learn how to speak better. In fact, if you find yourself in and around decision makers and networking circles where people struggle to speak and yet they are big shots where they work, you are perfectly positioned to offer them a course on how to speak. ChatGPT it and then humanize it a little bit and teach other people how to actually speak. The other thing that you can do, talking about courses, a lot of people are creating ebooks. They're creating a whole lot of, there's a whole course community that does that and they monetize that. I think there's a lack of video courses around, especially in South Africa, where you can simply send a corporation a set of videos teaching them whatever it is in their skills gap. Like where people lack, create videos and offer that service for corporate. Now, I know I'm talking a lot about my corporate girlies, but that's because when I was in corporate, I only saw one linear way up until I was opened up to the idea of getting my first AdSense check, my first brand deal, my first consulting gig, all of which were actually while I was still in corporate. Then my mind opened up to this idea of, while my expenses are here and they seem like they cannot change, my income level can continue to change and increase. It can go upward, and actually accommodate my lifestyle. And I think that's the culture we should be building, whether we are in corporate, whether we are not, whether we are in content creation waiting for the invoice or not. And I sincerely hope that this helps. If you've got any more ideas, especially for the girlies and the guys who are seeking other ways to monetize their skill set, drop them down in the comments below. Let me know what your favorite part of this video was and if you learned something, because not all of us know that these are things and ways you can monetize and make real money out of it without it being a full-time career. Other than that, I will see you on my next video. Subscribe. It's absolutely free. I love you guys so much. Bye.